There are people who feel their chest tighten the moment they step into a noisy crowd. Not because they're weak, not because they're strange, but simply because this loud and chaotic world is sometimes too much for a sensitive soul. If you've ever felt lost in the middle of laughter and noise, if you've ever wanted to leave a gathering because your emotions suddenly collapsed for no clear reason, then today's story might be the story meant for you. Some people step into crowded places and instantly feel suffocated, even when no one harms them, just because the noise feels too heavy. To them, voices, engines, and laughter blend into one massive sound that drains their mind far quicker than others realize. They don't hate anyone. They just hate the feeling of everything rushing toward them, leaving no space to breathe. Yet the world doesn't understand. People assume they're moody, distant, or purposely avoiding the fun and excitement of crowded moments. In truth, they're simply protecting their peace, avoiding the invisible pressure that crowds press into their heart. Some mistake them as weak, but no, they are just sensitive to the things others easily overlook. Even a small gathering can make them search for a quiet corner where their emotions feel safe again. They don't dislike people, but they dread the sudden emotional wave that floods in when too many signals strike at once. Sometimes they pretend to be fine, to blend in, just to avoid questions or judgment from others. But once they return home, they breathe in relief, as if escaping an invisible battle lasting hours. Their quiet room becomes a shelter, where their mind can finally soften and return to its natural rhythm. Many think they're lonely, but truly, they're happiest when surrounded by their own thoughts and calm emotions. In silence, they hear the subtle things that loud crowds would forever drown out. They realize they're happiest when they don't force themselves to match society's noisy tempo. As they grow, they understand peace doesn't come from fitting in everywhere, but from choosing environments that match their inner world. Crowded places make them feel misplaced, but that doesn't mean they lack confidence or fear interaction. Their sensitivity forces them to process too many signals at once, making their brain tire far quicker than most. Sounds that feel normal to others can hit them like strong waves crashing against their emotions. So they leave gatherings early, not because they're bored, but because their body desperately needs rest. For them, leaving at the right time is self-protection, keeping their mind from carrying unnecessary pressure. They often rehearse conversations in their head, just to avoid stumbling when too many people stir their emotions at once. Before attending any gathering, they mentally prepare escape routes, places where they can breathe without judgment. Even when surrounded by friends, a sudden spike of noise can push them into silence. Withdrawing into their thoughts, they notice tiny emotional shifts that others overlook, which sometimes makes crowds emotionally overwhelming. Their heart beats faster in crowded spaces, not from fear of people, but from the weight of constant stimulation. They value deep conversations far more than group chatter, finding meaning in quiet exchanges rather than loud gatherings. When leaving early, they often worry others might misunderstand, even though their energy is already drained. Sometimes they practice breathing techniques, just to stay grounded when the world feels too overwhelming. Despite their sensitivity, they deeply care about others, often more than they can comfortably express in public. They treasure the few people who understand their silence, valuing comfort over chaos, presence over noise. Crowded places drain them, but quiet moments refill their spirit like gentle rain after a long drought. They often feel guilty declining invitations, even though their mind clearly needs solitude to reset. But solitude isn't loneliness, it's the environment where their thoughts finally make sense again. A calm space allows them to reconnect with their true self, away from overwhelming stimuli that cloud their emotions. In quiet moments, they find clarity that noisy environments steal away without mercy. They learn to listen to their body, honoring the discomfort instead of forcing themselves to endure crowds. Over time, they discover that choosing peace is not weakness, it's wisdom shaped from understanding their inner world. They begin to accept that they don't need to fit noisy expectations to be worthy or normal. Some people shine in quietness, expressing depth that noise often buries. This is the beauty of their sensitivity. Peaceful environments don't limit them. They help them thrive, think clearly, and breathe freely again. They begin noticing how much calmer their heart feels when they allow themselves to leave overwhelming situations early. The more they honor their boundaries, the more they realize peace is something they've long deserved. They start understanding that it's okay to live differently, to choose calmness instead of rushing into constant stimulation. They don't need loudness to feel alive. Quiet moments are where their true emotions breathe. They appreciate small sounds, rustling leaves, soft footsteps, gentle wind, things that help them rebalance their energy. They often recharge by walking alone, letting silence slowly wrap around them like a comforting blanket. They begin to see that quietness isn't emptiness. It's a space where their mind finally feels understood. They realize they don't need to apologize for who they are. Silence is simply where their heart feels safe. Their world may be quiet, but inside, their thoughts bloom with depth many never see. People misjudge them as distant, yet they're often the ones who care the most, just quietly and deeply. When overwhelmed, they retreat not to avoid others, but to protect their fragile emotional balance. Their peace doesn't come from silence alone, but from being allowed to exist without pressure. They discover they don't need chaotic excitement to feel joy, just genuine connection with people who understand them. For them, one deep conversation is worth more than 1,000 noisy gatherings. They value emotional honesty because it lets them feel safe without pretending to be someone else. They slowly learn that it's okay to protect their energy, even when misunderstood by others. Their quietness isn't an absence, it's a way of showing the world they feel deeply and think carefully. As they embrace their nature, they find confidence growing not from noise, but from understanding themselves. They realize not all strength is loud. Some strength whispers quietly inside, holding them together. They don't need applause or crowds. Tranquility is enough to help them feel whole again. They begin to understand that their quiet nature isn't something to fix, it's something to embrace and protect deeply. Their sensitivity becomes a guide, helping them recognize environments that nourish them rather than overwhelm them. They find comfort in routines that bring peace, slow mornings, soft music, warm light, silent reflections. When life gets loud, they retreat not to escape responsibility, but to rebuild the balance their soul depends on. They've learned to say no kindly, choosing their well-being over forced participation in noisy gatherings. Quiet people love deeply, but quietly, expressing care through attention, presence, and sincerity. Noise distracts them, but silence helps them feel who they truly are beneath the world's expectations. Their mind processes details intensely, which is why crowds can quickly overwhelm their internal world. Understanding themselves becomes easier when they stop comparing their softness to the world's noise. They realize that not everyone thrives in chaos. Some hearts simply need gentler surroundings. Quietness becomes their strength, allowing them to observe truth hidden beneath loud distractions. They often feel emotions intensely, which is why crowded places drain their energy faster than most people realize. But in peaceful spaces, their inner thoughts bloom with clarity and quiet confidence. They start building a life shaped by comfort and authenticity, not noise and expectations. The world may be loud, but they choose a softer rhythm that keeps them grounded. They no longer apologize for leaving early or avoiding chaos. They finally understand their emotional limits. Their heart feels lighter when they stop forcing themselves into environments that exhaust them. They learn that protecting their energy isn't selfish. It's a form of self-respect many never practice. When they honor their nature, they begin to thrive in ways impossible inside overwhelming crowds. Quiet souls aren't weak. They're deeply aware, profoundly sensitive, and endlessly thoughtful in a world that often forgets subtle beauty. They realize quiet people aren't broken. They simply absorb the world in a deeper, more intense way. Their sensitivity becomes a lens through which they see truth others overlook in the rush of noise. In peaceful environments, they regain the emotional clarity that crowds quickly steal away. They understand their reactions aren't overdramatic, they're natural responses of a mind wired to feel deeply. Accepting themselves becomes easier once they stop forcing their spirit into overwhelming places. They start valuing the small joys that bring comfort, slow walks, warm light, meaningful silence. Noise makes their thoughts scatter, but stillness helps them gather every emotion carefully. They finally understand that they don't need to prove themselves by enduring environments that hurt them. Their silence becomes a sanctuary, a space where they can exist without explaining their discomfort. They notice peace isn't something found in crowds. It's something they build within themselves. Their quiet energy allows them to form deeper connections. Because they listen with intention and sincerity, they realize they don't need to compete with noise. Their calmness is its own kind of strength. In calmness, they find the courage to understand who they are without external pressure. They begin choosing people who value their quiet nature instead of expecting them to perform socially. Leaving chaotic places becomes easier when they accept that peace is essential, not optional. Their emotional depth becomes a strength that helps them understand others with empathy many overlook. They cherish connections built on trust, not noise, presence, not attention. The world may push them toward noise, but they learn to return to quietness where their soul feels whole. Their sensitivity reveals beauty in silence that most people never stop long enough to notice. Quietness shapes them into thoughtful souls, reminding them that peace is a gift they must protect fiercely. They slowly accept that quietness is not a flaw but a rare gift that allows them to feel life deeply. Their heart softens when they realize they don't need to match anyone's pace. They only need their own rhythm. They begin building habits that keep them grounded, choosing small rituals that quiet their overstimulated mind. They discover peace in moments others overlook, soft footsteps, quiet mornings, the stillness between breaths. Their journey becomes easier once they stop forcing themselves to fit in and start honoring their needs. They learn that silence isn't empty. It's full of meanings only quiet hearts understand. The world may celebrate loudness, but they realize their strength lives in calmness, clarity, and emotional depth. They no longer apologize for leaving early, choosing instead to protect their mental balance. Their soul grows lighter as they understand sensitivity is not a burden, but a way of perceiving the world beautifully. They cherish friendships that respect their silence, choosing people who bring warmth without overwhelming energy. With time, they find confidence not in noise, but in staying true to their gentle nature. Their understanding deepens. Peace isn't something the world gives, it's something they choose every day. They realize they don't need to react to everything. Silence can be their shield and comfort. Even in a loud world, they discover they can create quiet spaces within themselves. They grow into someone who knows when to walk away, when to stay, and when to rest. Their peace becomes an anchor, grounding them even when life becomes overwhelming again. They no longer fear crowds. They simply understand they aren't meant for them. They finally see the truth. Quiet souls don't need noise to matter. They shine softly in their own way. Their journey leads them back to themselves, where calmness, clarity, and acceptance gently embrace their spirit. They learn that peace is not found in avoiding the world, but in choosing the spaces where their soul feels truly safe. Some souls are born for quietness, not because they're weak, but because they feel deeper, see clearer, and live more honestly in the small, gentle moments. If you are one of them, remember, you don't need to be loud to be seen. Just being yourself, soft, sincere, and real, is enough to move the world. Thank you for staying until the end. If this story touched you, feel free to share your thoughts in the comments. And if you'd like to hear more healing stories like this, please like and subscribe. There are many more stories I still want to tell you.